We've just talked about women entrepreneurship, which of course is one aspect of gender lens investing. And Sarah, that is so much your focus. What's the diversity of the kinds of funds, just to give people a flavor that have signed on to this, so that people don't make the assumption that it's all one kind of business?
Sure, absolutely. And I think that's a very important message, Suzanne, because all funds, let me just set the record straight that not all of them are gender lens funds and not all of them are impact focused. Women are innovating across the sectors from AI, blockchain, fintech, clean tech, ag tech, and we have funds, over 36 funds across 4 regions that are focused in many different areas. So what we're saying is that we believe at the $1 billion Fund for Women that the pipeline of amazing women innovators is not the problem. The problem is the access to capital. And if we believe that the future of technology and the future is yet to be written, we as the entrepreneurs that have reaped the returns, we as the investors have an enormous responsibility on our shoulders to continue to find these women and fuel them. And I believe that venture capital is the way to go, because this is where we can set the standards. And in fact, you talk about the WEPs as a systematic tool. I love it. If you think about Me Too, this wouldn't have happened if the investors had insisted in the agreements that these are the industry standards, that we will not have tolerance for any form of sexual harassment. And in fact, today, because of the Me Too movement, a lot of founders are working through their own agreements to make sure that these standards are there, that there's a mechanism. Someone that I spoke to recently was Christina Bergman, Integra Software, and she actually created a systematic mechanism to ensure that if board members are found to be guilty or have reasonable doubt as to their actions and that might lead to sexual harassment, there's a way out without impacting the investment. So we have a responsibility of setting the standards, and I think that WEPs is the start for it. And I believe truly that women are innovating across the board, and it is our job to find them and fuel them.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. So there's been this, that's our time, that I'm paying attention to. We have this separation between the gender lens investing conversation and the future of work conversation and the Me Too conversation. But the reality is that they're all connected. And what you're bringing up, Sarah, is the opportunity that we have as investors to say, what is our responsibility when we're investing in the future of work, to make sure that that future is good for women and that we're not, in an unintended way, disadvantaging women, but that we're really thinking about gender parity. And we have the opportunity as investors to really be thinking consciously, not as bystanders, as we heard earlier, about what is our role as investors with influence on these businesses to say it's unacceptable and what good practice really looks like. So I think the WEPs is a tool for us, but it's really investors working together with businesses that really are making this change, and with civil society to really influence what matters for women. What does good look like for women? So Michael, just to bring us home here before we take maybe a question or two from the audience, that level of innovation in Canada, what are the barriers and what are the opportunities that you see as you go to deploy the rest of this capital?
Thank you. And I want to pick up on one of the points that Sarah made, because again, our philosophy, my philosophy in Canada is that Canada can't succeed unless all Canadians succeed. And when you have 50% of the population not getting access to the financing investment that they need, it's a big problem. When I started in my role, I visited this town called Waterloo, which is kind of the tech hub for Canada. And I sat down at an accelerator. And what was arranged was a breakfast that I had with 25 young women who were leading startup tech companies. And we went around the table, and each woman kind of told me their story. They all had great businesses. These businesses were kind of starting well, but each and every one had a story of how difficult it was to get the venture capital financing they needed, because it's such a difficult environment for everybody, but particularly for women. And it pinged me, because these are women that had great businesses, that had great potential. And they were saying to themselves, I can't reach that potential because it's just so damn hard to raise the financing. And it struck me that, to your point, it's not a question of an adequate number of great women leaders and great women businesses. The issue is around the financing. Yeah. So that was the kind of turning point for me and for us to do something kind of special, not special, something bespoke and specific to provide venture capital equity financing to women leading tech companies. And again, it's still early days, but it's certainly proven to be the right decision because these are great companies. They're well led. The results are excellent, and I'm just so optimistic about what this could lead to.
That's great. And I really want